Alright, so this is my, uh, with spoilers, kind of analysis of Heretics of Dune. Um, and then I was wrong actually. This one doesn't takes place 1,500 years after his death. So technically, at this point in the story, we're like 5,000 years after Dune, and then didn't realize it was kind of glossed over with like some kind of laminate or a protective lining. But yeah, this is a really nice copy actually of Heretics of Dune. With and then that's supposed to be Shiana and a sandworm. And that was kind of what I was saying with the God Emperor video. They're kind of supposed to be like three pronged, like with their mouth. And I don't know if you can notice, there's like a little red in there. That's because in the books they don't translate this in the movies. One, because it'd be kind of hard to without having to explain everything. So I do see why it got cut out. But basically, sandworms, a sandworm's stomach digestive system is basically just like a giant like oven. Like it's stupid hot down there. And so I think they did it in the 2000s Dune miniseries. I don't know about the 1986 or 1984. I don't know, the Dune movie with Kyle MacLachlan. But yeah. Then this is my other cover. It's Shiana and a sandworm as well, but she's walking on its back. So this is supposed to be the start of a new Dune trilogy. Because it's basically completely separated from all the other books. The only slight reference is the God Emperor, but that is distant past. Honestly, it's so because it's a new trilogy, it's very different. It has a whole different vibe to it. Everything feels darker, but that's also mostly because it doesn't all take place on Arrakis now. Heretics of Dune and the next book, Chapter House Dune, they all they're not centered on Arrakis anymore, and there's a lot of other planets, so it's got a lot of different feel to it. In my head, it felt kind of like rainy. It's kind of rainy. Whenever they weren't on Arrakis, but basically, when the God Emperor died, everyone spread out super far, and the God Emperor explained that he oppressed and controlled humanity so long that when he died, they would never again settle in one spot. So, and then now in Heretics of Dune, there is no government. It's a complete anarchy, which is a really neat idea. Most powers are in the market. So like money. I mean, not to say it's not already, but money is like the absolute power in the new Dune universe. Like it's how everything works. There are some small like factions that will like fight each other. And the notable ones in this are the Bene Gesserit and the Bene Gesserit and the Honored Matres. They're a new group introduced in this. The Bene Gesserit wear kind of cool colors and very nun-like clothes, robes, not modest clothing. Or I don't even know how that saying goes. Well, I guess you guys can't really answer this. To my understanding, isn't modest clothing like kind of revealing stuff, or is that the opposite? And modest clothing is like church clothes. I have no idea. Anyway, they wear non-revealing stuff. The Honored Matres, though, they wear all red, and they wear very revealing clothes because they gain power through a different means other than money, and that is prostitution. And they've like mastered It's very weird. I have no idea how he comes up with this stuff. It's really, really weird, honestly. They mastered um, their ability to have sexual relations so fluently that when they do, the man they choose to have relations with will literally pledge their life and loyalty to these people. Like, they are psychologically and physically, like, attached to these women, and it's very weird, and I don't know why. I mean, I understand, like, maybe like a dark, like, opposition to the Bene Gesserit, but it's just so odd. It's so odd. I don't know how he came up with this. And I think before her passing, his wife read part of this. I wonder what she was thinking. She was like, "What the hell is he making? What the hell is he writing?" Um, and what is neat about these honored matras, though, is that they were an organization that formed after the God Emperor's passing. They formed like outside mapped space in the wild regions, or is it wild space? I don't know. And they're coming back, and it's heavily implied throughout this book and the next that they were running away from something. They brought on some type of, like, they brought on a wrath of something. And they felt the need to dominate the galaxy so that they could raise an opposing army. But they also just hate the Bene Gesserit. And they hate... Well, actually, I don't know if this is established in these books or in Hunters of Dune, which is a expanded universe work. So, like, some people it's not canon. I say the expanded universe stuff is canon. I mean, like, people treat a ton of Star Wars movies canon, even though George Lucas had nothing to do with it. So I would consider it canon. But and on top of that, this is literally his son and Kevin J. Anderson. And I mean, you guys will hear me say this again when I get to it. I actually kind of like the expanded universe stuff, and when it comes to the two sequels, I think Hunters of Dune is actually really, like, one of their best works in the expanded Dune universe. I loved Hunters of Dune. Sandworms of Dune was they kind of missed the delivery of the ending there. I think it introduced a lot of cool concepts into the Dune universe, but I don't think it was very good. But anyway, I don't know if this is established in Hunters of Dune or this book. They hate the Beni Tleilax, or the Tleilaxu, which were those kind of imps that would make clones of people and replacement body parts. And you find out in this book, you find out a bit more about them, because basically up until now, you just knew they were a very secretive society, and you learn a lot about their societal functions in this because they have a much heavier hand. In Heretics of Dune and Chapter House, honestly, Heretics of Dune, though, is where they get the most heavy-handed. But basically, you learn that their cloning tanks, their axolotl tanks, which is kind of a shared technology. Frank Herbert likes to, like, have the same concept so he doesn't have to make new ones. One thing I see a lot in his books are chair dogs, which is, like, the weirdest idea someone could ever, like, come up with. It's just the strangest shit. So it's literally just a dog genetically modified to be a chair. And there's also bed dogs, too. And they're supposedly, like, the comfiest chairs in the galaxy, which is just ridiculous. It's like, why is he How do you come up with that? You think he just like fell on his dog one time and was like, wait a minute. He like tripped backwards, accidentally sat on his dog, and then he was like, that's it. Um, another one is axolotl tanks, but I've only seen that in like one other book, and that was the Jesus incident and the Lazarus effect. That's what I saw it in. But anyway, you find out these axolotl tanks, because they have always in the past been described as like something that only the Beni Tleilax know how to make, and they're not a machine. They don't defy the jihad, but they are they're biological machines. No one knows how they work. You find out that, and this is another thing you notice, and this gets brought up in that. It gets brought up in Heretics of Dune as well, but because you visit the homeworld, I forget what it's called. You visit the homeworld, and all right, I just broke my laptop out to figure that out. It's just Tleilax. I guessed, but I didn't want to like talk and then have it be like, completely wrong, and then I'd like embarrass myself. But you find out there is no women. That is an entirely male society. And it's not like they reproduce asexually, because one, they're still humans, and two, they are very susceptible. Though they view them as unclean, I see it a lot in Heretics Dune, Chapter House Dune, and the Dune sequels. They're very, very vulnerable to Honored Matre tricks. And then also, Ben and Gesserit weren't known to be like celibate either. They would manipulate people through sexual means like multiple times throughout the story. Like in the Dune movie, the one lady, Lady Fenring, she influences Fade Routha with that. But then let's see. Basically, what was I gonna say? There's no women. They have no women in their society, and it's seen as odd. But then you find out women are turned into those axolotl tanks. They are like hooked up and genetically modified, and it's like a horrible existence too. They're still conscious for like some of it. They're like half conscious. It's a miserable existence. Their body is grown to like disproportionate size, and they use women's bodies to just grow people, and it's like real sick and twisted. And the Tleilaxu, and this is kind of where a lot of the Tleilaxu like I mean, nobody knew about it, but if they knew about it, the people in the Dune universe would probably just like murder all of them, because they already hate them like so much. They're ostracized. They don't get a voice in the previous political system, the Landsrat. They didn't get a voice like at all. Because everyone hated them. But yeah, no, it's and they also innovated their face dancers, and this was bad. They had to invent kind of like a dead man switch. So you know how like in a lot of movies, like spies or assassins, when they get caught, they'll have like a pill in their tooth they can crunch, and then like they'll die. Basically, people have that now, except they would crunch a pill and it would wipe their memories for the past like 3 weeks. Or no. It would just wipe their memories point blank, like everything. Because the Beni Tleilax innovated their face dancers even further, so that upon contact with someone, they were able to absorb their memories. And be full, like, have all their memories, so they know how to act. Not only do they know how to turn into them, they know how to act like them. And it was implied that their spies were a lot better. And you find out there's a really neat moment in the book where you realize that the Tleilaxu kind of went overboard with it, and some of the face dancers forgot they were face dancers. Like they had because on Arrakis they had a new religion, and it was mainly sandworm, and it was sandworm focused again. Because Fremen culture like came back, kinda. They were a lot more civilized. I guess civilized, yeah, because they were pretty nomadic and warlike. They're a lot more civilized, but there's like organized sandworm religion. Basically, the Tleilaxu replaced every single priest with a face dancer, and then they all forgot they were face dancers. So it's just like the priests were there anyways. And this caused some of them to actually ally themselves against the Tleilaxu, not because they had free will, but because they thought they were people, like they were spies. You know, they were taking the spots of people who already didn't like them. And so they just ended up like, oh, weird little thing. Because the Tleilaxu, because the face dancers are technically Tleilaxu. They're just super modified, and they're kind of seen as slaves. And then there's regular Tleilaxan citizens, which are not really present in the story because most of it takes place off Tleilax. And then there's the Masters, and the Masters are the guys that know how to clone. They have the knowledge in their heads of how to clone people, because as soon as they figured out that stuff with like Duncan Idaho and Dune Messiah to replace their memories, they completely stopped training new masters. And basically, as soon as they die, they would grow another one, shock it emotionally, and then new body, right back to where they were. One thing though, they did this with Duncan Idaho a lot. They have to give them crash courses because they can't remember their clone lives. They can only remember their original life. And Duncan Idaho, he had to get a crash course basically every time he got revived, because all he remembered was dying for Paul and Jessica in the events of the first book. So they gotta give him a little update. Oh, and there's another thing. So Duncan and Sienna in the fourth book, they vowed to not have children together. And then the book ended, and then they completely broke that vow. And I guess there are so many Atreides descendants now that having Atreides genes isn't really much of a flex. But overall, the physical durability, strength, speed of everyone is a lot better now because of the Atreides genes. There's a document that gets released called the Atreides Manifesto. Nobody knows who made it. It's a pretty damning document, and it caused a lot of uproar. What else is there? The machines are not banned anymore. So now there are a few guild hayliners, those giant 11-mile long ships. They're kind of like trains, now that I think about it a little bit. They're like massive trains because they'll stop somewhere for like, I mean, not exactly like trains, but they'll stop somewhere for a few days, or like a ship. They're kind of like a ship. They'll dock for a while, give people time to pilot their spaceships into the giant hayliners, and then after a while they would close up, warp out, and then that was it. And then they'd stay there. Basically, and now, and this saved the guild a lot of money, guild navigators are kind of being replaced because they were very, very much a big cost of sales, because they took a ton of spice. It was like a ton of money they had to pump into those navigators to navigate fold space. But now that the machine ban was done, the Ix, which is kind of like the machine world, that's how I always thought of it. They made navigation machines like instantly. And so now there are crossover or collaboration guild hayliners that operate off of a navigation computer. They do the same exact thing. There's because when the God Emperor, in his dying moments, when he lifted the machine ban and everyone listened to him, because they thought he was God. Um, because he said that, like, oh, don't fear the machines, don't fear, because Ix was also pretty ostracized because they skirted the line really hard with making thinking machines, and people were kind of didn't like him either. But he said, "Oh well, don't worry about their machines. They can do more. They literally don't have the means to bring about." He called it Kralazek, which translated to like the storm at the end of the universe or something. Basically, Judgment Day, or like, so it was like an apocalypse event. Like, they don't fear their machines because they do not have the means to be able to create it now. And you can find out because they go to Ix for a little bit. I don't know what for. I don't remember what for, but there are robot attendants now. It's like a thing, and it's really cool actually. The God Emperor, when he died, his armor that melted in the river. When sandworms die, their outer layer, their skin turns into a ton of sand trout. That's their life cycle. They die to be reborn, in a ton of baby sand trout. That's what happened with the God Emperor. Basically, he split off into a ton of sand trout. They burrowed really deep in now Arrakis, and absorbed all the water, turned it back into a desert. But now all the sandworms are like related to each other in a way. It's still the first generation, by the way, too, because sandworms' lifespans are about like 4,000 years, I think, maybe more, because that was Leto's lifespan. Leto, even if Leto didn't die and got Emperor of Dune, he only had like 500 years left before he was done. So this is the first generation of sandworms back. So they're all like directly related to the God Emperor. And they are described by the God Emperor. He said his descendants will have a small pearl of his awareness in them. That never really gets elaborated on in Frank Herbert's Dune books. It gets elaborated on in Brian Herbert's. But basically, they hunt in packs now, which is crazy. It's scary. They're not territorial anymore because they're all siblings. There's a girl, Shiana. She can control them. The Bene Gesserit notice her, kind of take her in. There's another Duncan Idaho clone being grown. He gets trained in Bene Gesserit ways. And then he has a confrontation. He's described to have the Tleilaxu hid a secret weapon in him. He was meant to be used against the Bene Gesserit. They hid a secret weapon in the Duncan Idaho clone they made. And the Bene Gesserit are about to have sexual intimacy with him to bond him to them and kind of have a Duncan Idaho on their side. But before that happened, an honored Matre attacked, and Duncan Idaho's powers and the honored Matre's powers, like mental energies, like clashed or something. Again, the strangest thing ever. They were doing it like rabbits, basically, in front of everybody towards the end of the book. And essentially, Duncan Idaho is like a male honored Matre. That's the secret weapon. He had honored Matre powers, and he enslaved this honored Matre girl, and she enslaved him. So they were both like bonded to each other, and they hated each other because they were on the opposite sides. And she ends up being pregnant. There's a guy. He is an Atreides descendant. There's a major Bene Gesserit woman, Darwi Odrad. She's not the leader yet, but she does become the leader at the end of this book. She is the daughter of a great Supreme Bashar is his name, is his title. Miles Tegg. He's like such a cool character. One of the best in the sequels. Basically, he's super old. He's like 300 years old, and he's described to be only middle-aged, so he has a couple hundred years left. Even his presence would cause opposing sides to want to seek out a treaty, because he was just he was so tactically smart. He was like Batman, and two, he also was a very good people person. Um, and basically, he died saving people from the honored matres, and he stole a amazing technology. It's called the no rooms in God Emperor of Dune. They were fully realized, and now there are no ships, which are like the one he stole is the biggest one ever made, I think. That or it's only like medium sized, and it's like just the hold is a mile long, which is insane, and it can hide itself from any form of detection, prescience, radar, even sight. It turns invisible. Like it's such a cool technology, and it has its own Holtzman engine, so it doesn't need a Hayliner. It has a navigation computer, and it can go wherever it wants. But basically, the honored matres, they know about Duncan now because of Marbella, the stuff with Marbella, like one of their spies saw it. And they are so terrified. They're like, oh my God, we need to kill this guy right now. And Miles Tegg was so smart, he tricked them into thinking he was on Arrakis. And so basically they take a new technology and blow up the planet. Like they blow up Arrakis. Not blow it up, but like sterilize it. Basically they turn the whole planet into glass. And before they leave, though, Miles Tegg ensures that the Bene Gesserit get away with the no ship, and then also because Shiana is now indicted into the Bene Gesserit, so he makes sure that Shiana gets away with the no ship and one sandworm. This is so important. One sandworm. To keep them alive. And they survive with one sandworm on a no ship. They escape, and then Marbella and Duncan become Bene Gesserit captives. Miles Tegg dies. He had an ability though. Miles Tegg got captured halfway through this, and his Atreides genes, basically he was like the Flash. His Atreides genes gave him super speed. It was kind of a weak plot device, but he didn't really use it, so I don't know why. I don't even know. But basically, yeah, he gains super speed, but it makes him like super hungry. And I don't know how he doesn't really get a chance to use it. He uses it to kill a lot of honored matres because he doesn't have a moral restriction. He just kills them. He's still a great dude, but he just kills honored matres. But anyway, and then this is another thing I have to mention. The honored matres killed all the Tleilaxu masters. They hate them. They went through and they killed every single one of them. There's one left, and he has a capsule embedded in his chest, right? And this is the coolest part. It has DNA from Paul Atreides, Duncan Idaho, Thufir Hawat, Gurney Halleck, Jessica, the Duke Leto, Dr. Yue, Chani. I think there's a few others. Basically, the entire original Dune cast. It's revealed that he has DNA for the entire original Dune cast, and he is the last one with knowledge on how to make axolotl tanks, and he's captured by the Bene Gesserit. But yeah, no, honestly, Heretics of Dune is also, I don't know where to place it, but it's one of my favorites. I really, really like it. Yeah, no, that was it. I've kind of talked a lot about this one, so you can kind of tell I really like it, but yeah.